Welcome YouTube, this OG Weasel Urban Conversation, and I told y'all that I was gonna have something special for y'all, and timing presented itself, man. So we here today. I got my big homie, one of my mentors, man, and if you just now tuning in, hit that like and subscribe button. I'm talking about federal prison stories. I did 20 years on a 30-year sentence, and I'm just bringing some of these stories to light right now, and hope y'all like them. So if y'all hit this like and subscribe button, that'll let me know. And hit the comments below if you want to hear something specific about your city or about somebody that I encountered along my 20 years of incarceration in the federal system. Well, today I got my big homie, a special guest. I wouldn't have done this without doing this first video without, what I'm saying is I'm thankful that he agreed to do this video with me, man, and he was the first candidate that I wanted to have on my channel, and want to introduce him. He was a mentor to me, and very intelligent. He did 26 years on a 30-year sentence, and I know him. He's my brother. You know what I'm saying? He's a big homie of a lot of guys all over the world. You know what I'm saying? Y'all might know him. His name Big Terre, and welcome to OG Weasel Urban Conversation. Welcome to my channel, man. Thank you for this interview, man. You know what I'm saying? Getting started right into this, just getting right into it, man. Explain them to what you did 26 years for.
Well, what landed me in the federal prison, it started with this one guy that I know from Chicago, and they used to call him Pistol Pete. And what Pistol Pete used to do, he used to rob a lot of dope boys back in the days, Me and him was cool. And Pistol Pete tried to rape my girl one time. So I quit fucking with Pistol Pete, but he kept coming around, pulling guns on me. And so eventually, me being a street dude that I was back then, I took him out the game, So eventually I got arrested in the state of Illinois, fighting my case for 2 years. And while I'm fighting my case, a lot of drug boys got locked up, indicted with the federal system. And what the government theory was that I killed this guy because he robbed all these dope boys. And so they picked up my case. My state case got dropped, and the feds picked up my case. And that's how I ended up in the federal system.
So you done actually 26 years on a 30-year sentence.
Well, actually I did a little more than that. It was like from 91 to 2018.
Okay. So
like 27 years, something like that.
27?
Yeah.
Okay, so going through that, getting indicted for this allegedly crime spree that they thought you was on with these other guys with this trying to be what you would say, they called you like a hitman.
Correct.
They used you as a hitman for this scenario, and they put you in a loop. But in all actuality, you done what you done because of what you done, because of the situation.
It had nothing to do with them whatsoever.
Didn't have.
It was between me and him.
Right.
That's our beef, and how I eventually end up with the 30 years. I went all the way. It was probably like 30 people on the case, but with my part of the indictment, it was like 4 people, and all the main guy, his name is Richard King, the main guy and his other guy, his workers or whatever, that was on my case, they were saying that he paid me to do this, which is a lie. I done did my time. I'm out, I'm home, I'm free, that was a lie, what I'm saying? But they was in the back wings willing to testify. The day I was supposed to pick my jury, I went on ahead and pleaded out because I was facing 2 life sentences. And they were there, gave it to me. Just because these dudes cut a deal with them to get less of time.
Oh, so they cut a deal to use you as a scapegoat for something that you did on your own your own intentions. So they tried to use you as a scapegoat and try to
They
tell,
did.
you know. So the guys did that. So how many people was on your case?
Well, on the whole indictment, it was 30 plus people because they came through. There was a lot of gang members.
Okay.
And then that a lot of gang members. And but my part of the indictment, it was like 6 of us all together.
6 of y'all all
On my little part of it, it was a lot of drugs and everything.
So at this time, how old were you at this time when this?
I was 21 at the time.
You was 21, going into in the custody. Was it federal starting off?
Well, I was in the county jail fighting the case. It was just a regular murder at first, state murder.
Okay, regular.
And then in '93, that's when the federal government indicted me.
Okay.
January '93.
Okay.
They called me down to state court, said my case was dismissed. And I told them, okay, well, when I got back in receiving, I said, my case dismissed, process me out so I can leave. It's this way right here. I said, something ain't right. I said, because I've been in the county before.
Right.
Process me out. And they wouldn't do it. And then a couple minutes later, U.S. Marshals walked in with an indictment for my arrest. So they dismissed my case so the federal government can take over my case.
Oh, okay.
Selective prosecution.
Selective prosecution. So going through that federal situation, how you know about the amount of time that you was facing? Was it later on down?
Well,
arraignments and.
Well, my initial charge was CCE 848, and which will give you just life.
Right.
You know, and so they set my court date like a year wait.
CCE is criminal career enterprise. Mm-hmm. That's what CCE is, and that's what 848. That's what the federal government used to put you in a certain statute to give you a certain amount of time when you charge for this actual offense. You know what I'm saying? So they bridge the gap and put you in a lock-in to put you in a certain time bracket for when they bring you in. Go ahead,
Yes, he's correct. And that was my initial charge. And they set my date like a year from that date, like a whole year. I'm like, a year? I'm like, what the hell going on? And anyway, within that time, they superseded my indictment, meaning they brought another charge with the charge I had called RICO. I know y'all heard the song with Drake. We might get caught with the RICO. We might get hit with the RICO. Well, they hit me with the RICO. You know, it was 1959 murder in the furthest, the RICO statute, and this law was created for the mob. They said we was a drug organization, gang members, and my duty in the gang was to protect the workers in the gang. Security. That was a government theory. Now, I'll tell you right now today, I wasn't in their gang. I just knew these guys. I grew up with these guys. I was in the same projects. But I wasn't getting money with them. Nothing. You know, but like I said, them guys flipped on their guy and said this was what it was so they can get a better deal. They cut a deal.
So they cut a deal to get them a lenient sentence, and you still had to. Would that had to change the scenario had them guys not been in on your case? You think your case would have just stayed state?
It would have.
And you would have probably got what type of time you was looking at if it would have stayed state? Being because I know they look at the character of the man that's deceased in that situation. They look at the character of that, and then they look at the person who, actually done the crime. So weigh out the options. So you saying dude was a robber?
Well, the guy, he had got out of prison. He was on parole, state parole, and I didn't know. They called him pistol pizza. I thought he was on state parole for either killing somebody or something like that. But at the time I got locked up, his parole officer came. I was in the room. He said, "Yeah, you did the community a favor by killing that guy. When I first got locked up, I'm like, what you mean? He said, I'm his parole officer. You know, I'm just here, just finishing up everything. I said, what? He said, yeah, you know what he's in prison for? I said, no, what was he in prison for? He was in prison for kidnapping, raping a 14-year-old girl. Guy was fucking sick, and it just reflected back when he tried to rape my girl.
Right.
You know, I didn't know that, but he was on some robber time.
Right.
He's really robbing people though, you know, too, you know. And I'm like, what?
But he had some indiscretion.
Yes, and at the time they charged me first degree murder in the state of Illinois. As time went on, they reduced it. They brought, you know, the state bring you deals. They said, okay, well, you cop out to voluntary manslaughter. At the time, carried 4 to 15. I said, nah. In the state of Illinois at the time, you do 50% of your time. You know, and so that's what I was facing, 4 to 15. I could have, if they would have gave me 4 years, I would have did a year and a half because they would give me 6 months and I'd been home. You know, man. But they didn't have a case. All they had was somebody said they seen him with me that night, and that was it.
Okay. That was the only thing that they had against you.
That don't mean I killed nobody because you seen me with him, you know.
Okay. So getting it. So, if you liking the story, man, hit the like and subscribe button, man, and tell me what y'all think about this interview, man. I'm with the big homie, Big Tez, man, and we finna get back into some more stories, man. Just stay tuned, man. Y'all stay right there, man. This interview, man, finna get juicy, man. Getting sentenced. I know that was torment for your family and being stripped away from your family at like 21 years old, you fairly young, you know what I'm saying, getting your life stripped away from you, which I know you was man enough to handle whatever consequences that you put yourself in. I know it was just a little hurting feeling, a little small hurt feeling, that knowing that a group of guys was trying to use you as a scapegoat, and that, you know what I'm saying, that was just, you know what I'm saying, it was disrespectful in all manners. You know, so getting right into the federal system, when you get in the federal system and you get sentenced to this 30 years, what did you feel like going to the very first prison? And what was some of the things that you seen coming into the federal system? Some of the things that was happening around you violently, and how it was structured in the federal system. What were some of the violent things that you seen coming early on into the system?
Okay, well, let me tell you this. Now, me coming up, I always been in and out of juvenile, state of Illinois, RYC St. Charles. A lot of people from Illinois, they know what that is.
Right.
Coming up is a juvenile penitentiary. So, by me going in the system, I was already primed and ready.
Right.
For what was ahead. So, I went to MCC Chicago, downtown Chicago. I was in downtown Chicago, and I'm trying to figure out where I'm going. So, the first spot that I went to was USP Terre Haute. Now, at this time, it was number 5 USPs. USP Terre Haute, USP Leavenworth, USP Lompoc, USP Atlanta, and
Marion.
No. But Marion was ADX.
Yeah, Marion was ADX.
And so I can't think of the other one right now. Yeah, Lewisburg.
In Lewisburg.
Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. At the time, we're number 5 USPs. So I went to USP from MCC Chicago. We rode to Terre Haute, Indiana, USP. Now on the bus, you got people like going to camps and mediums, you know, and they were like, "You going to the pen?" I said, "Man, heads roll down there." Now my mindset at this time was, you know, I'm top of the food chain. If heads gonna be rolled, I'm gonna be rolling them. That's my mindset.
Right.
I mean, literally wholehearted. I believe that in my heart. That's what it is. So whatever you saying don't mean nothing because you was a victim.
Right.
You know, that's what I'm thinking. You're a victim.
Right.
That's why you going to a camp. you know. And so I get off the bus. At the time you get off the bus and you walk into the units. As I'm walking into the units, people come to their rooms, look out their window, see who they know anybody. So everybody's calling my name in the unit. Now at this time, I didn't know nobody knew me there.
Right.
You know, it's my first time in the federal system. They're like, Terre, come to such and such unit, such and such unit. So I'm looking at like, so people on the bus are like, man, you know people? I'm like, apparently so, you know.
Right.
So once I get inside, I see a couple guys I know from around my way. You know, they give you care packets. At the time, you got cars. This state, that state, you know. You got the Midwest car, you got the West Coast, you got East Coast. You got different cars. And within them cars, particular car I was in, you got GDs. I mean, you got folks and you got people. On the streets, in the state, we opposition. That's our ops. But in the federal prison, they together. Jeff Ford years ago said, well, you know, ain't no sense of all of us fighting each other when everybody else is sticking together. So we gonna come together. You know, the Midwest Coalition was later formed as a result of all of that.
Right.
You know, we
that
all
transpired universal throughout the federal system.
That's right. That's
Even
right.
when I came in,
that's right.
That's why I was under the Midwest Coalition.
Yeah,
you know
all
what
that
I'm saying?
came about
Because of y'all.
Yeah.
Because of the guys, the pioneers before me,
Yeah.
that set the stage for us on that platform. You know what I'm saying? For us to have a form of unity. So they formed the Midwest Coalition.
That's right.
One of the founders of the Midwest Coalition. So if any one of you guys ever been in the federal system or know somebody have, you know what I'm saying, and I'm pretty sure they heard about the Midwest Coalition, man, and this is one of the founders, man. He's one of my mentors coming into the system. You know what I'm saying? I had to listen to him tell me what to do, how to move, and conduct myself in an orderly fashion, because, you know, that's just how it is. It's rank, it's steps and degrees to this. So coming in, being a young pup, I looked up to Big Terre and a few other guys that had the same rank, that or higher rank, not even higher rank, because he was at the upper echelon of it. So straight off the bus, I had to do what the fuck he said do, and do it how he said do it. You know what I'm saying? Just to come up in the game as a young pup, just learning the ropes in the federal system, man, because they paved the way for guys like me to come in, man, and I appreciate that, man. You know. So getting into USP Terre Haute, man, and you know, y'all was locked down when you came in off the bus. Was they locked down?
No, they was open. It was open. You know, when you know you go through receiving R&D, go through receiving, tell you can go through the whole little hokey pokey and what unit you gonna go to,
Right.
and they try to classify you if you hooked up with this organization, that organization, and blah blah blah. They skip it. They go through all of that, and then we eventually get to the unit.
Okay.
Once you get to your unit, everybody in the unit, don't nobody know, like, where you from? That's the first thing I'm gonna ask you. Where you from? From Chicago, St. Louis, Springfield, Peoria, wherever you from. They say, oh, that's your people over there.
Right.
You know, I mean, they're just gonna do that. You know, and then once you know, you're gonna go over to meet up with your people, and they're like, oh, what you need? They're gonna give you everything you need, you know, and then somebody gonna pull you up and like, hey, this how it is here, you know, we do this and we do that. Basically, an OG, an old head gonna tell you, we do this and we do that. We don't get down like that, you know. But as me being in that prison as a youngster, I will say this, it was old heads. They was OL rookies, generals. Wadu, Raja, you probably know some of them.
Yeah, I know.
Raja, two Wadus, you know, Hakeem, you know. It was brothers over there, you know, that's you know, that's been around. And they called me, they said, bring your stuff up to the law library. I'm gonna help you out with your case. Raja told me this. I'm like, okay. So at the time, you can have your paperwork with you. So here's how things went down. I grabbed out my paperwork. You got moves every hour, 15 At the time, it was 15-minute moves every hour back then. And so I run up to the law library, and I get up there, the move over with, and he waving to me over here. When I get up there, it's a table full of cats. And so I'm looking, hey, what the hell? And they said, we need to check out your PSI. So so I started laughing. I'm like, I was like, man, I'm straight, man. I told them what everything happened. So they looked over my stuff. He went to a couple spots. These dudes work in the law library, so they know what to look for.
Right.
They're like, oh, okay. Oh, the ox straight, the brother straight. He said, we got to check you out. We can't just have anybody around us like that.
Right.
We don't get down like this. We got too much stuff going on here, and we don't need nobody pointing nothing out. Something go down.
Right.
You know, and so that was an incident, you know, that I really respected. I liked, and you know, that happened almost 30 years ago, and I still remember it to this day.
The first encounter.
First encounter. Yeah.
No matter how big or strong you look,
don't matter.
Or don't matter. They gonna they enforcing the rules, man. They gonna check you out automatic. It's inevitable, and you have to go through that procedure. Back then, now I think it's a lot watered down now.
Yeah, because they as a result of things like that happening and other little things, they had canceled PSI. You can't get your PSI anymore.
Right.
They stopped doing that because a lot of people's getting whooped. Send up top. Send up top is being get off the yard. You got to go to the whole PC.
Yeah.
PC'd up, and a lot of Italians was getting extorted. You know, because they were snitches and people found out they were snitches, and so they just extorted. You better give me this. I'm gonna let the people know.
Right.
And they was getting extorted and different things of that nature. So they killed the PSIs, and they came out a lot of fake PSIs as well.
Right.
To throw people off.
This was later on down the line.
This later on down.
After I came in, I was still able to hold my PSI, have my PSI, bring it to the table, and like I said, you did a considerable amount of time more than me, and I did 20. So shortly after I came in, they started canceling PSIs because it got very dangerous, and guys started making fake PSIs to try to get through the crack holes, because it's even when you come in here, they're gonna find out if the PSI authentic or not. They're gonna. I think these dudes know the ink, the level grade of the ink that they printed out on, and if that ink ain't right, man, you probably get your ass blown off. So you know what I'm saying. And what was some?
But that was set forth. That you know that the incidents right there, that was the end result of all of that. From taking PSIs and fake PSI, because people was checking you out, man. They wasn't you wasn't just being accepted. Right. You wasn't just being embraced. Right. You're gonna get checked out. If you wasn't checked out, you checking in. Okay. And that's how it was in the USP.
So how long did you stay in USP Terre Haute?
I stayed in USP Terre Haute. I got there like in '93. I left in I think '95. I went to USP Lompoc, California, because my mother was staying in LA.
Okay. So you wanted to move closer to your mom, and getting out on the West Coast, right? When you get out, you went out to Lompoc. Getting out here on the West Coast, what was the culture like? Was it the first time you had been in the federal system in Lompoc?
Right? This is my second pen. That was my second USP.
The second USP out here in Lompoc, right? What was the culture like for us dealing with all the Crips and the Bloods in Lompoc? You know what I'm saying? Okay. Back then it was probably what year? Like 95. 95. This so 95. It was very intense time in the USPs, because I know the streets was on fire in 1995 in California. So I know it was a very hostile situation. Pretty much, because I know the California guys, when they get in the federal system, is pretty much against the Mexicans, because they're outnumbered. So what was it like for you transferring to Lompoc, and what was the culture like?
Well, I will say this: back in them days, when I left Terre Haute and went to USP Lompoc, I will say that the black was the majority there.
Okay.
Because you didn't have all the Mexicans coming in droves. A lot of them from the border and all that. You didn't have that. You had, so when I got there, and I first got there, went to my unit, and I will say this, every USP I went to first, they locked me down for a while, then they let me out.
Right, it's like captain review.
They locked me out, they said you got to see the captain before you can get out.
Right, you had to
other people go to the yard,
yeah.
But me and my case and all this, they want to check, make sure I'm straight when I come on the yard. I ain't gonna kill nobody, got no enemies.
Right.
So I used to get locked up all the time, no matter what. And so when I made it to USP Lompoc, I go on the unit. I bumped into guys from DC, Brooklyn, New York, and all. They asked me, "Where you from?" I said, "I'm from Illinois." I said, "I ride Chicago car. We all ride together." You know, they was like, "Out here you don't." And I'm like, nah. You know, I've been locked up somewhere, so I know what's going on. You know, DC, y'all my enemies. You know, at this time, this is the mindset. Right. You know, y'all my enemies. You know, we go to war with y'all. Right. We done been to war with y'all, against y'all. So, man, I'm not finna ride. What you talking about out here? So you ain't running no games on me. I ain't just get locked up. But to come to find out, we all was together because the West Coast dudes looked at us all the same.
Okay.
At that particular time, Crips in the blood, they said, y'all ain't from out here. And so they looked at us like, y'all East Coast dudes, no matter what. And I should tell them I'm from the Midwest. But they said, y'all East is the same to them.
So the Crip and Blood dudes looked at us, looked at everybody that wasn't from the West Coast as East Coast.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I guess that was that Pac and Biggie syndrome they had going on.
Pac and Biggie, it really wasn't, it was kind of, the beef was there. Yeah. 95, the beef was there. But they looked at all of us as being like on booty.
What?
They thought we was booty band. Everybody from back East Coast is booty band. You know, DC and all that.
Right. So
you know
they labeled us with the DC
all
guys
all
of that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, okay.
And so that was at first, you know, when I first got out there initially. So I'm like, okay, but you know, I'm gonna pay my own way. I'm not just gonna ride with you. And so as I get out there, I get cool with a lot of West Coast, you know, a lot of West Coast dudes, particularly Bloods. We real tight. You know, I'm going on visits every weekend. They thinking I'm from there.
Right.
Because my mom's there in LA, so I'm like, nah, you know, but I met some good dudes.
Right.
But it was some dudes on that time to the point where, man, y'all ain't from out here. You know what I'm saying? We ain't from out here, you know, this West Coast, you know.
Right.
But it was an incident. It was Mexicans there though. It wasn't a lot of Mexicans. It was some Serranos there.
Right.
It was an incident where a Mexican called a blood dude a mayate, which is nigger. And the blood dude took off on him with the Mexican.
Right.
And they had an Emmy there. Emmy is like the OGs of the Mexicans.
Right.
And so he took off. So all the blacks, you know, and this one thing I can't say about blacks, we have our beef, but when it comes to racial, we'll come together.
Right.
We'll put all that to the side. Like, what's up, man? These Mexicans tripping, y'all. What's up? We're going to get these motherfuckers? Like, hell yeah. We'll come together. So we came together to support the LA dudes, you know. And the Emmy was talking shit. Yeah, black putting his hands on him. You don't do that.
So what was, excuse me for cutting you off, what was the reason why he called him that? What was the reason?
I can't remember the total reason.
Oh, okay.
But I think if he's drunk and they had words, but I don't remember the reason, all the details. But I do know that as a result of the Mexicans trying to gather together, all the blacks gather together, because we ain't finna sit back and let no Mexicans just beat the blacks up, and we just right there looking. Right. So we came together, and the Emmy was talking crazy. So it was an OG out of DC named Comrade.
I know Conrad. I was in USP Hazleton with Conrad.
Cold Soldier.
Yeah. I was in USP.
Cold Soldier.
Shout out to Conrad, man.
Yeah.
Out of DC, man. Cold Soldier and stand-up guy.
I will say this about DC dudes. The old heads, they thorough. I will say the older guys that I was locked up, they thorough dudes, man. You know, they soldiers. They might kind of be little freakies here and there.